Hi guys, this is a video on how to refurbish power steering rack from Renault Master, Opel Movano, and Vauxhall Movano, and Nissan NV400. Here's the part number of it. If you can see it, it's clear now. So it will work for. This video will help you to refurbish any steering rack that looks kind of like this one. Okay, so that should work even if the part number is different. The video should be accurate for most of them. That looks similar to this. So as you can see, I have it in bits already taken apart. And pity I didn't do a video when I was disassembling it, but when you be disassembling it, you can just use this video from the end to the beginning, like, you know. So the assembly process is actually reverse of disassembly, so you'll be fine, you'll be okay. Make sure you get the correct kit that will have all of the seals required for your steering rack. And this is actually the proper one for mine. So you will have to get the same. If you're refurbishing this steering rack, you will have to get the same kit. Anyway, I don't know if that's going to help you. Maybe this part number will do you a favor here. There you go. That's much better now. So, and the company that makes that is ATG, right? Okay. Okay, so first of all, make sure you will match all of these to your old ones. Okay, I'm gonna show you where the damage was on this one. By the way, you can see how worn it is here, right? And a couple of other ones of these were damaged as well. Yeah, you can see a little bit of a damage there and here and there. And it was leaking, right? So make sure you will match all of these, right, to the proper size of those. And do not swap anything until you be going at it. You know what I mean? Like, if say this goes into to this part first, right? So don't swap anything, don't move anything until you're actually working on it. So you're just gonna grab this, replace that, you know what I mean? And then this goes in like that, you know what I mean? So I'll show you how I'm gonna do that now. Okay, so to drive the first seal and the washer in, you will need a socket that is the same size as the seal, right? In my case, the biggest one I have is 36mm, which is actually perfect, okay? And what I've done is I put a little bit of isolation tape on the edge, so I'm not gonna damage anything inside of the steering rack. The tube, I'm not gonna actually, you know, scratch it or anything, and I'm not gonna damage the seal itself as well, right? So this piece goes in first, and it goes on the other end, right? So what you have to do is just kind of stand up the rack like that, drop the seal in here, right? Drop the washer first, like this, and drive it in all the way down where it needs to sit. Then use your flashlight and just point it in there and check, is everything okay there? And then the second thing, you drive in this seal like this, that way. It would be nice if this phone could, yeah, there you go. You drive this like that, okay? So when it's fitted, it's actually sitting on that like this way, right? So that's the first thing you have to do. Okay, and before I forget to tell you this, guys, another thing worth mentioning is that when you're assembling all of the seals and everything, like most of the, O-rings and everything, just use a little bit of fresh power steering fluid and lube everything all around before you slide that in. And that way it's just gonna go easier, and it's just gonna, you know, it's gonna be lubricated already when it's in, right? This one will need a little bit more force, so I'm just gonna go and grab a hammer. Yeah, you can see it. It's sitting right down there. Okay. Next step. Okay, so the next step is there's seal on the shaft, right? And the tricky part about this is that, okay, you remove the old one, okay? But this one has to be stretched by your fingers, right? And I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so make sure you won't damage the new one, right? That's why you need to just stretch it a little bit. Okay, so old one is off. There is another seal under it, as you can see there. So I'm going to pull this out as well. This is rubber, so it's easier to do, obviously. Okay, so that's out, right? Two of them out. So now match the new seal to the old ones, and then you'll be able to assemble that. The rubber one is easy, it just pops in, no problem, right? But for the other one, it's a kind of plastic. I forgot the name of the stuff it's used to make it, but you just stretch it like that. Okay, you play with it for, some say even for up to 2 minutes, right? But you will feel it. It will just kind of become like a softish, you know. So play with it like this with your fingers, and just don't break it. Don't break it. Don't use too much force, because you'll be fucked, pretty much. Anyway, so keep doing that. And once you feel like it's just softer, yes, already is, keep doing that. Okay. You just put this in at an angle into the hole first, slightly there, and just keep doing it round. Just make sure it's going in. Actually, it doesn't want to go that easy, so I'll have to just kind of keep stretching it. So the key is not to damage it, right? So I'll report back once I have that fitted anyway. Okay, so it did work perfectly. As you can see, it's there, it's not damaged. I'll try to focus on that. Yeah, it's all good. Perfect. So you just have to do it and then make sure it just pops in, and then lube it a little bit more. That's it. It's in. Beautiful. Okay. Next step is find yourself a little bit of a masking tape and wrap this rack part in it. Just don't be mad. Don't go mad with it. You know, just one layer of it around this thread or whatever you call it here, to protect the seal that you just put into the tube there from getting damage of those, you know, when you be sliding this part in, it might get damaged, so it's recommended to wrap this. I'll show you in a minute. There you go. So it's wrapped from the beginning of it to the end, including the end as well. So it will all have the same size, kind of size, when you'll be pushing that through the seal. Obviously, lube this as well. Lube all of it here as well, all that shaft. And just slide it in there. I'll show you in a second. Okay, here we go. So this is the end you've been putting the seals in there. Okay, so this is the wrapped end of the rod, and you just put that in very carefully. All right, make sure you will find that hole. All right. Now, okay, I'll report back when it's done. Okay, so again, it did work. You see, I started to pull the tape off, but it's okay. It went through. So be careful with it. Don't force it. Just like kind of twist and try to turn this, you know, and it will go in. It will go in, no problem. Okay, once you've removed the tape from the rod, the next step is this part here. Okay, and you just have to keep it as is going back to the rack, right? So this part here, you will see it at the end. It's held by that ring, right? But that's by that snap ring, okay? So that part here goes into the rack first, but there is a little seal inside this as well, and there is a seal, rubber seal outside there, so you have to just change it. You see this one here? That's the one actually that sits here, okay? So you find matching one, there you go, and you just replace it here, and then you find the other one that sits here, and it's easy because it comes with like a metal washer, all right? Come on, you bastard. Okay, see this? You replace that washer there as well, and then that's your that is your seal there, right? Okay, so this and this goes into that and to that hole, right? See you in a bit. Okay guys, it's out. This one was a little bit of a cunt to do, so I just kind of had to chisel it out. It's out. I have to just clean it, put the new one in, and fit the rubber one here, and that's it. Okay, once your seal O-ring fitted and seal here fitted, right, you just fit that part, the rubber seal, inside first, inside the tube first, right? So yeah, you can see that, no problem. Just again, carefully, not to damage the seal or anything. Okay, I'll have to do it two hands again. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that's in. Then you grab a ring, a metal one. Okay. Put it in there as well. And then this part goes in. You see like a little notch there, right? So that notch, it's pointing outwards, right? And the smooth end goes into the tube. Boom. And you push that in, okay? That's in there, no problem. And then you need to put the snap ring in. Okay, so simple as that, right? That goes in there, inside here, and that holds the whole thing in place. All right. Okay. Now. Okay, guys. So at this stage, I had to remove that little metal ring that came in with seal. So I don't know, maybe seal is different, maybe Maybe that suits some other steering rack as well, or I've no idea what's going on, because I could not put the spring clip in there, so I just had to remove that, and everything perfect now. Everything fits as it should. So at this stage I've no idea what is it for, so I just did pull that out, and that's it. Next step is to replace seals, those plastic seals in here on this part, all right, on this shaft. There's 4 of them, 3, 4, and then you just have to stretch them again the same way as I did stretch the other one. That's it. So first of all, remove them off the shaft one by one, and then put the other ones one by one, and that's it. Basically, that's all what this shaft needs doing. Okay, so that's done. As you can see, all of them went in perfectly. Now they are a little bit loose now, right? Because we've stretched them, okay? So don't worry about that. You just have to be careful when assembling this into the tube later. Just have to be careful and lube that well, and just go easy and be fine. Now the next step after that, right? Okay, let me show you this. Inside the steering rack, the part that sticks out up here, right? There is bearing. I think it is like a halfway up, just down below, like about there, okay? So you need to find a way to lubricate that with a bit of a grease before you will assemble the shaft that turns like that. That's the rack and pinion, maybe pinion shaft. Okay, I'm not as a steering rack specialist, as you can see, as you can tell at this stage anyway. So before you assemble that, you need to find a way to lube that bearing, because that shaft is actually working on that bearing in here, right? Okay, and there'd be no way to lubricate that after the seal is in, because that's the next step after greasing that bearing, right? Okay, this seal goes in. I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so that's done. Yeah, you can see that there's 2 bearings, one on the bottom there and one halfway about there, right? Okay, now the next thing is that seal goes in, okay? That seal goes in here. But you have to be, well, not you have to be, like, when you be removing that seal, the old one, right? I found no tool, nothing that could do that. You see a bit of a damage on it, right? What I've done though is I've drilled a hole in here. It's plugged now with a screw, right? But it's exactly where the seal is, a little bit even down below it. Okay, and what that does, it did allow me to squeeze it. You see the little mark there, right? Okay, so it did allow me to use like a fine steel nail or something and bent that, and that way I got that out. And you might find yourself have to do that as well. So hopefully not. Hopefully you will have some other way to pull that out. But anyway, out with the old and in with the new. Okay, so that goes in there. Okay, one more thing worth mentioning is this seal has to go in like that. This is the bottom of it. Okay, if this phone will focus on it. Yes, it will if I ask it for it. It's like a little lip, right? And it's there's a spring inside, and this is the top. So spring up, that way that seal goes in, right? Okay, here we go. Okay, I've got that seal in. Hopefully it'll be easy to see it. Not that easy. Oh yeah, it's there. Okay, it sits down as far as it goes. Okay, so next step after that is putting the pinion shaft. That's what I call it, right? Okay, and it goes this part down, and the rack there inside the tube has to be set so that part will go right into it. Okay, I'll show you now. You have to have the little grooves, okay, in here. Okay, those grooves facing direction of this. Just I would love to know the proper names for all those parts, but see this sticking thingy up, right? So your rack groove has to be aligned right into it, so the pinion shaft can just go in there and there'll be no interference, right? You will know what to do when you be at it. I hope so. Then of course don't forget to lubricate that all. You don't have to lubricate this down here because grease goes on that later on from the bottom, but you have to lubricate all that there up to here, up to the bearing, right? This is where the bearing is, I think, or that part has the bearing. It doesn't matter, just lubricate in here as far as this, and that's it. That'd be enough, and that just pops in there. Come on. Okay, and all those has to go in as well. Yeah. Okay, another very important thing to mention is the rack has to be preset middle. That shaft inside has to be set in the middle, and then this has to go back as it came out. So I have a little mark here telling me it's facing this side, and I have a little mark here facing telling me those two marks has to align, so that way I know this goes in the way it should be, right? So you have to measure at this end and on this end the same distance. It should stick out the same distance here and here, and this has to go in as it came out. That's it. And obviously, before you be removing the steering rack, set the steering wheel straight. That way, nothing goes wrong, you know. Okay, once that smaller shaft is in, then there is like a nut that holding it there. Okay, so you can secure that in. All right. Oh, and maybe a good idea to put some grease on that as well, on that bearing, because it has no other lubrication. There is no power steering fluid that goes in this part. It only stays in here. There is a seal that's separate these two parts, so you just need to lubricate here the bearing, the one that I've just showed you before, and put some grease here and put some grease on those little grooves there on the shaft itself, and that's it. That's gonna be fine, right? So here we go. Okay, so once you have that shaft in and everything is set, you can put a bearing first there on the shaft, and then the seal goes that way, the lip down, spring up. Okay, when you'll be putting this rotates, right? So you have to just kind of twist it that way, and when you'll be tapping that in, it's just gonna twist on you anti-clockwise, and so just remember that. So your marks has to align here, you know what I mean? That's where I have them. You can put them anywhere else you want, so just be careful with that. Then after that spring clip, and after that cap, new one. This is the old one, so I'm just gonna use the new one, and that's it. Right, so one of the last things, this cap go in here. There is seal that goes in here on this end, and just like that. It's a rubber one, so you won't have any issues putting that on. Okay, so that's that. And there's one more that goes on this cap that holds this thing against the steering rack there. Okay, so that's that. There's 4 more left, little ones. So 2 of them goes in here, and 2 of them goes on the pipes that fits in here, I think. I'll double check that, but you'll be able to figure this out anyway. So this is all done. This is finished. So after that, and hopefully I'll fit that tomorrow and see how that goes. Yeah. All right. So. Okay, so don't forget to put a little bit of grease in here before you drop this in there and secure that with cap. And this cap has a spring as well, and this thing has a rubber seal as well on it, so just remember about those as well. Right, so okay, see you in the morning. Okay guys, good morning, welcome to Ireland, lovely weather. Anyway, so this is a bonus clip. This is how to bleed your steering rack properly, because it took me a good while to solve that problem. But anyway, let's go. So what you have to do when your van is still up in the air with the wheels off the ground, you go and fill your power steering fluid reservoir up to the max, like even over the max, up to the very, very top, right? Then you go into the cabin and turn your steering wheel lock to lock a few times to get that power steering off the reservoir into the rack without starting the van, okay? So you do that a couple of times. The wheels are off the ground, so it's easy to turn, right, as well. That's going to help you. Without starting the van, this is going to help you as well to do that. So once you do that, and the level of the power steering fluid, the reservoir is actually there, you will see, you will know. The level in the reservoir is not going down anymore, despite you turning the wheels this way and that way and all the time. Then you go into the cabin, start the fan only for a couple of seconds, like literally 3 seconds, right? And turn it off. And then see if that power steering level is still the same, right? If it's not, top it up. What happened was, right, is my pump was sucking in the air. Because it's only me working on this van. I had nobody to help me at the time. So what you have to do is make sure the pump is not sucking air, because it's going to start pumping that air through the system, and it's just going to cause you a serious headache to bleed that, right? So keep that in mind, and you'll be fine. The van is all back in service. It's all good now, right? So it did work. So, well, best of luck anyway.